Hey you guys, I was asked a great question, and also I heard or I read a really good comment in the Facebook group, and I want to address those two things. I saw Deb the other day, and Deb said, do I really need 3 yards of fabric because I am petite, but I do want to make a maxi dress. All right, that's going to depend on a couple things. All right, number one is that I trust Deb to make the best decision on this because she has taken a class with me before. The reason why I strongly recommend 3 yards is because if you use a print or a napped fabric, or you have to add length, or laundering the fabric. Let's take laundering the fabric. You guys, I have been there in my early years of sewing. Like, it really stinks being 14 years old, having to pay for your fabric, buying the perfect yardage that the pattern says, and then washing it and drying it, having your fabric shrink up, and then realizing you don't have enough yardage for the pattern you want to make. So if you go longer, you minimize any chance of shrinkage, really destroying your plans for a garment in that particular fabric. Now with ITY and double brush poly, they really don't shrink that much. Knits don't shrink like cottons or linen will shrink. I can't say that no knits will not shrink. Some of the natural fiber knits may have more shrinkage, like bamboo. There are others. Cotton lycra. You still may have some shrinkage there. But for what we're using in class, you really shouldn't have a problem. But I want you to get into the mindset of purchasing always a little bit more than you need due to alterations, but also because of laundering. If you are tall or you have long legs or long arms, again, you may have to lengthen a skirt. You may have to lengthen your sleeves, and that's going to take up more fabric as well. Another thing you're going to have to think about is the print of the fabric. If you're using a napped fabric, your neck and your hem for the front are going to have to be put on the fabric, but then you have to follow by your neck and your hem of the back of the pattern. So your front's here, the back's here. Your neck and hem have to go the same way. You can't have a rotated pattern, so you can't have a neck here and a hem here and then a hem and a neck, because one's going to be going one way on the print and the other's going to be going the other way. And on a napped fabric like corduroy or velvet, you're going to get 2 different shades of the same color. If you're working with a print, you may want a repeat to be in a certain area of your body. So if, like, for example, an ombre fabric, so maybe your ombre is going from light to dark to light. Maybe you want that dark to be at the waist. So you may have to shift your pattern pieces up or down a little bit to get the effect that you want. Likewise, if you want your sleeves to match that ombre print, like let's say your sleeves down here at the waist, if it's dark at the waist, you're going to want it dark probably at the sleeves too, to kind of give a really nice illusion of that ombre just being in total alignment between your arms and on the body. 3 yards will give you the capability to do that on a knee-length dress. What about your print itself? All right, so maybe you're not working with an ombre, but maybe you're working with a floral. So the one thing you always want to avoid are flowers, big flowers on your boobs, because once they go on your boobs, you will always see it. And if you mention it to anyone else, they will always see flowers on your boobs. That's not going to go away. All right, another thing is, like, let's say you're working with fruity fabric. You guys, like, let's say you're making leggings, and I will use cherries as an example. It may not be in your best interest to put cherries at the crotch line, because that lends itself to a whole bunch of strange thoughts and comments. All right, so we have to be very careful of the pattern placement if we're working with a print, or if we're working with napped fabrics. A knee-length dress or shorter in 3 yards is going to give you a lot of leeway and a lot of lateral movement for your pattern pieces. Kathleen had a great comment on calculating the degree of stretch, and she said she was told not to use the cut edge to measure the degree of stretch, and that has merit. So when I told you how to do the degree of stretch, and I told you to stretch on the cut edge, there are a couple of caveats to this. And number one is that we all know that when we go to the store, who cuts perfectly perpendicular to the selvage edge? Just about no one. Even when I'm at the store and I'm cutting cotton fabric, I try to make sure I put the fold on a perfect horizontal line to make sure everything is straight. And I put my ruler there so I can guide the rotary cutter up the ruler to make the cut. But my ruler may be a little off. So anticipate this. When you go to the store, they're not necessarily cutting straight either. So what I would advise doing is, let's think of this board as your fabric, and let's say your selvage edge is right here. So when you open up a piece of that fabric, you want to just do the best visual you can at a right angle to that selvage. And a lot of times, if you look really close, you'll be able to see a rib going across the fabric. A lot of times you may not be able to see it on the right side of the fabric, but you will be able to see it on the wrong side of the fabric. So you kind of want to pull where that rib is, all right? Because like I said, the cut may be this way, the cut may be that way, but if the selvage edge is on a line, just doing a visual is going to go a long way to helping you calculate an accurate degree of stretch. Following a rib is even better. You know, you can't cut a swatch at the store. You can't ask them, hey, can you cut me a 5-inch swatch so I can calculate the degree of stretch? They're not going to go for that. If you're at home, you can cut into your yardage. You can cut a perfect square, but then again, you're wasting some of your yardage too. That's why I just take, you know, that cut edge, try to make it a perfect perpendicular pull to the selvage to calculate your degree of stretch. Another reason that I thought Kathleen's comment was really good is because it relates to how the fabric is handled when it is cut. If somebody is like really handling your fabric a lot, that cut edge could stretch out of shape. And if it doesn't have Lycra in it, and it doesn't have that good snapback that I talked about, that good recovery, and then you try to determine the degree of stretch, your fabric may be stretched out already, and it may skew the result of that degree of stretch. All right, so I hope this kind of explained this a little bit further, gives you more things to think about, but none of it's hard. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in video 3 of the Easy Knit Dress class later this week.